Hello, welcome back to the We Are City channel. Manchester City 3, Sevilla 1 was the result in last night's Champions League Matchday 6 performance. City played really well, I thought. In the second half especially, first half was a different story. And I think Pep Guardiola got things particularly right. I've got on my screen today, not the webcam, it is Rico Lewis. He is my man of the match and he is a superstar in the makers. And he's 17 years of age. His first goal for the club in the Champions League. In general as well, first goal for the club. He performed so well, especially in that second half. And for 17 years of age, City do have a complete star in their hands. Born and bred from Manchester. He's one of our own, Rico Lewis. And Pep Guardiola got it right, I thought, with the team sheet. I think got it really right with the way City set up in a 4-3-3, really. I think the first half, he did have to change it, the way we were playing, a 4-3-3. With sort of Gundogan in the sitting role, Palmer and Phil Foden in front as the 3-8s. That didn't quite work in the first half. I mean, City had a very early chance, didn't they, against Sevilla, with a chance of, I think it was Cole Palmer, who put one just over the bar. It was well worked by City. Jack Grealish on that left-hand side, pulled it back, and Cole Palmer just dipped one over the top of the crossbar. Probably should have done better. Would have been a really nice opening goal. Then Sevilla did have a few chances here and there. City also had a chance. Ruben Diaz was put in from a cross on a set piece. Couldn't quite convert it into the back of the net. But it was Sevilla who struck first. A crossing from Isco on the right-hand side. And by the way, Isco, just a top quality player. And he's done a little touches he did, little movements, little turns. Was fantastic for Sevilla in that first half. I thought second half was non-existent, really, once City got hold of the ball a bit more. And a bit more expansive, a bit more purposeful in possession compared to the first half. But that crossing by Isco was fantastic. And Rafa Mir, who did have an earlier looping chance on the far other side of the goal, a little header that looped over Ortega, and I thought that's a dangerous one for Rafa Mir. And then in the second half, the second half of the first half, we'll say, after around the 30th minute mark, was it when they scored? Rafa Mir header again, looping header across the goalkeeper. Stefan Ortega is in goal there for Manchester City in this game. Didn't even move, and Rafa Mir drops his header into the far post. Nice header by the Spaniard, who just might sneak into that Spain squad. I'm sure he'll be in the 55-man from a preliminary squad anyway, before they cut it down to 26 players, I think it is, going to the actual World Cup. But a wonderful header from Rafa Mir. Sevilla take the lead, and they only brought a few fans to Sevilla. The roar from the away fans wasn't so much, I have to say. There's about 100, 150 maybe Sevilla fans, which is a big shame. They couldn't bring a lot of fans, but I know there's a big problem actually with the flights between Manchester and Sevilla. But that was a great goal by Rafa Mir, and City went in 1-0 down at half-time, feeling like they were just not at it at all in those first 45 minutes. Just didn't move the ball like they usually do. And Jack Grealish, Pep Guardiola said, was City's best player in the first half, the only player that drove at the opposition well. Rodri was warming up from around 25 minutes marks, even before Sevilla had scored. And Rodri came on in the second half. Grealish off, and a lot thought perhaps Grealish coming off was due to poor performance. I'm not sure. Pep Guardiola says he just wanted to rest Grealish for the next game. The plan was always to play only 45 minutes of Jack Grealish. So Grealish off, Rodri on. City then went to a shape where Rodri was the sitter in the midfield three, Gundogan on the left and Palmer on the right. And I think Palmer was nullified throughout the game on that right-hand side, purely because of Mahrez, really. Mahrez hardly given the ball all game, and Mahrez did his typical thing, cutting in. I mean, he did score. Riyad Mahrez, he wasn't that bad, but I do think he sort of occupied the same space as Palmer, and that made it very difficult for Cole Palmer to get into the game in the way that he wanted to. Now, City changed it in the second half. Instead of playing the sort of fullbacks inside and the wingers, which was Grealish and Mahrez in the first half, out wide, Pep Guardiola changed it. You know what? The wingers are going to come inside and the fullback's going to go far, high and wide on the outside. More traditional sort of Pep at Barcelona, Dani Alves and Eric Abidal, whoever, Jordi Alba, overlapping, making those attacking runs. And that worked a lot better. I thought Sergio Gomez was fantastic on that left-hand side. Should have put a few more crosses in. I saw quite a few times the frustration by Pep Guardiola on the sidelines that Gomez hadn't gone and whipped a cross in when he was in a good position. And then Rico Lewis, the man who was fantastic on the other side. And he got the goal from that. City playing the ball around on the left-hand side in little pockets of space, an overload on the right-hand side, well, on the left-hand side, sorry, and then a lovely run by Rico Lewis, lots of space. Sevilla have gone all the way over, shifted their defence over to try and cover City, playing those combinations on one side. They switch it to Rico Lewis. I'm not sure who made the pass, actually. Straight through to Rico Lewis, and he finished it brilliantly, and that worked so much better for City in that second half. That was the opening goal to make it 1-1. From there, City had a really good spell where you thought they were going to get 2, 3, 4. Just couldn't quite find the right pass. Just couldn't quite find the finish. And then it was Kevin De Bruyne who came on for Manchester City, who changed it with his quality. From the right-hand side, a wonderful ball. Just the typical, traditional, you know, it's just vintage KDB. That ball in behind with the right foot. In-swinger, just beats Carmona, the centre-back, who he's obviously not Sevilla level, I think, unfortunately, Jose Angel Carmona. He needs to probably go out on loan for Sevilla. He's only playing because of so many injuries. Marcao was forced off. That changed things to Sevilla. Alex Telles came on that left-hand side at left-back for Sevilla, who was injured, I think, from early on. He managed to twist his ankle, and he couldn't get tight enough to Kevin De Bruyne. He puts it in behind, and it's, again, just that inch perfect that sliding defenders just can't stop it. It just brushes the studs of Carmona, perhaps, falls to Julian Alvarez, who takes it round the goalkeeper and smashes it near post into the top corner. From there, City were in full control. They had one chance, Sevilla, with Rafa Mir again, who, you know, Rafa Mir is more of a striker, but he played sort of off the right side for Jorge Sampaoli's side. Drifting off that right, finding positions at the far post, and he found another one in the game where he had a volley that he just flashed wide, but there was a good chance for Rafa Mir. And then City, in the end, did finish the game off 3-1 with a goal from Riyad Mahrez. Well, it was, I'd say well worked. Good pressing from City. Carmona caught in possession by Julian Alvarez, who just runs his socks off every single game. Closed down Carmona, ended up falling over the ball. Squares it to Riyad Mahrez, who puts it with the keeper. I think if Bunu stays strong there and stays still, he doesn't get beat by Mahrez, but he's gone down towards his bottom corner. He's gambled, and Mahrez scores. So these are the player ratings. Starting with the manager, I've given Pep Guardiola an 8. I thought the way he set it up was right, and the way he changed things in the second half was right. And I think starting from the younger players was right as well. And bringing Ezbran on players like that, I think, showed. Ortega gets a 7 in goal. I think Ortega, the upgrade on a goalkeeper that can pass the ball out the back to Zach Steffen, is a massive upgrade, isn't it? And that shows that Ortega, we might do a lot better in the cup competitions this year with Ortega in there. Of course, across the back line, it's going to be Gomez an 8, Laporte an 8, Diaz a 7, just not quite the levels of Laporte. I think Laporte had to do a lot in the second half when Ezbran came on. He seemed to be covering a lot of ground because Ezbran wasn't doing what Pep wanted. Rico Lewis, man of the match at 17 years of age, and 9 at right back. Into midfield, I give Palmer and Gundogan a 6. Both were pretty non-existent throughout the game. Palmer was a bit more influential than Ilkay Gundogan. Unfortunately for Cole Palmer, like I said, Riyad Mahrez has occupied every space that he wanted to go into. Foden a 7. I thought it was great, but not Rico Lewis or Laporte or Gomez level, I have to say. Grealish a 6. Just average, just above average. That is average, I think, a 6. A 5 is below average. Then finally, Julian Alvarez, a 7 with his goals. Well, other than that, didn't do much. Doesn't get much service, does he? On the bench, Manchester City, we give an 8 to Kevin De Bruyne, who came on and changed the game. A 7 for Rodri, who also sort of changed that second half of Manchester City. Joao Cancelo, a 5. I thought he put a few poor crosses in, didn't quite make the impact he did when he came on for Rico Lewis, who seemed to have cramp when he came off. Bernardo Silva played well, a 7. And then finally, Josh Wilson-Ezbrand, who had a lot of stick from Pep Guardiola. Ezbrand just not doing what Pep wanted. A few times Pep had to go at him. He had a bit of a run down the left-hand side where he looked to put a cross in, didn't do that. He had also a poor touch. I think out of Lewis and Ezbrand, it's clear that Lewis is the higher-rated player. And I think with Josh Wilson-Ezbrand, Gomez needs to be more trusted on that left-hand side. And that means that perhaps we see him play more than Ezbran, and that might mean that Ezbran goes out on loan eventually for Manchester City, unfortunately, and I think he does deserve a chance, but you can see he's not quite technically the level of Luis Cancelo or Sergio Gomez, nowhere near the level technically, but he does possess blistering pace, really, really quick, Josh Wilson-Ezbrand. And there's a little video on City, wasn't there? City TV or City Plus or whatever it's called on YouTube, where City was saying, Josh Wilson-Ezbrand in an interview, he was saying that he wants to be like Alphonso Davies. That's who he looks up to, and I can see that in him. I can see the sort of blistering pace he has. And I'll tell you, if he plays like Alphonso Davies, he will make it at Manchester City. So 3-0 for City. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought the player ratings, what you thought the game. How impressed were you, Rico Lewis? That is the main one. How impressed were you with Rico Lewis? And on to Fulham on the weekend now, where we will be doing a match day review after the Fulham game as well. I'll be there at the home game against where City face Alexander Mitrovic and Andres Pereira, who's not quite the same level, but Williams playing. And I've been very impressed by Fulham so far this season. One of my favourite sides in the Premier League at the moment. So let's see how City do. Perhaps we see the return of Erling Haaland. Please do like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. We'll see you guys next time.